Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into episode 2 of Zero Day, breaking down all the twists, secrets, and high-stakes drama. If you thought the first episode was intense, wait till you hear what happens next. Episode 2 starts with George, still struggling with the events of that mysterious phone call from Naten. He's on his way to Manhattan, trying to piece together that night, but all he can recall is writing the lyrics to Who Killed Bambi. Not exactly helpful. Meanwhile, a hacker is in panic mode. He's destroying his hard drives and escaping to a hideout in the Bronx. But when he arrives, a Russian official is already there, having killed the rest of the hacker group. The hacker makes a run for it as the Russian tries to finish the job. Back at the commission, things are heating up. George only has 72 hours before the White House pressures Evelyn to blame Russia for everything. The first briefing starts, but George isn't at his best and Roger notices. Meanwhile, Melissa, the PR head, is looking for a statement and Carl has just the thing. News of the hacker massacre. Surveillance footage captures the hacker and Alexei Lebedev, a GRU official, together. Given the tension between the US and Russia, George insists on finding the hacker first and getting his side of the story before jumping to conclusions. Roger checks in on George, who insists he's fine. But things are getting complicated. The hackers left behind a code word referencing Ukraine's Orange Revolution, which George thinks is too obvious, a potential red herring. George then recalls seeing Anna, the ghostwriter, at his commission acceptance. But wasn't she supposed to be dead? He orders Roger to investigate her death, suspecting something's off. Meanwhile, the army identifies the hacker, but for some reason his data is restricted. Elsewhere, a hedge fund guy named Lyndon reaches out to Roger. Turns out, Roger is his mole, feeding him intel due to an old debt. Lyndon wants the commission to focus on Moscow, but Roger is reluctant and wants out. Back at home, George's wife, Sheila, is watching the news. She's worried about George, especially after his breakdown in the study. A tech CEO, Kidder, has offered help, but Melissa knows nothing about it. George is in deep, but stepping down is not an option for him. Then, more bad news. A cyber attack on Russia is set to happen in 48 hours. And while George waits for Naten to respond, he still can't piece together that phone call from the other night. On top of everything, news anchor Evan Green is publicly tearing George apart, calling him senile and unfit for his position. It turns out George had actually dropped out of the presidential race at the last minute, adding fuel to the fire. Meanwhile, Roger visits the morgue, but Anna's body is missing. Things are getting stranger by the minute. By day 5, Carl reveals a shocking truth. The hacker they've been chasing is actually an undercover NSA agent, Patrick. Roger updates George about Anna's disappearance, making him wonder if he really saw her alive at the press conference. Back home, Sheila reaches out to Valerie, their former chief of staff, begging her to join the commission and protect George. Valerie refuses at first, but Sheila is certain that George needs someone to watch his back. She's right to be worried. Dreyer sets up an oversight committee led by Congresswoman Alex, who is ready to question George's credibility. The commission, desperate for control, sends Roger to talk to her. Turns out Roger and Alex have history. They're more than just political acquaintances. In a surprising moment, they hook up. But their alliance might not be enough to stop the storm that's coming. Meanwhile, George pressures Admiral Bernard into giving up classified NSA files on Patrick. Just in time, too, they manage to arrest him before Alexei Lebedev can kill him. But as Alexei tries to escape, he's run over by a truck driver, who, as it turns out, is also a GRU agent. Later, Roger spots this same truck driver outside his home. The agent insists Russia isn't involved and hands over a lead to the real attackers, the ones who actually funded Zero Day. During Patrick's interrogation, he explains that the hackers weren't working for Russia. Instead, they were hacktivists who wanted to show how dangerous digitalization has become. Someone tricked them into coding the Zero Day bug. But who? The GRU agent's intel points to a North Dakota terror group called Reapers. Thanks to this information, Mitchell calls off the cyber attack on Russia just in time. But George's problems aren't over. Evan Green continues attacking him, comparing him to a war criminal. Then something clicks. Green quotes a line from his program, the same program George was watching when Naughton called him. Suddenly, the memory becomes clear. Naughton mentioned Proteus being a weapon. Now, with this newfound clarity, George holds a press conference, revealing everything about Reapers and Proteus. Mitchell is furious. If Russia had been blamed, it could have unified the US. But now, with internal conflict brewing, things will only get worse. As the episode closes, Jeremy from the CIA questions George's motives. He confirms that Reapers is real, but Proteus is actually a government program. Mitchell, now deeply unsettled, pulls out a top-secret file. Episode 2 raises the stakes and brings real-world political parallels into play. George's idealism starts to crack, especially after his Proteus blunder. While the commission scrambles to verify intel, George rushes into revelations without enough evidence. So far, the show heavily focuses on De Niro's George, while other characters like Roger and Alex are left with minimal development. Hopefully, future episodes will explore the larger cast more, tying up the various conflicts. What did you think of episode 2? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates.